looking at current boxing news, what happened over the weekend. Josh Taylor got the win in one of the biggest anticlimactic fights probably in recent memory. So the guy that turned up from Thailand, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but knocked out in one round in a body shot. Look, all the pros in the world can tell me that that body shot is going to hurt you. All the experts, all the pundits, and I'm sure it did. But look, that guy didn't go out on his shield. He milked it afterwards. It didn't sit right with me. But Josh Taylor hopefully goes on to bigger and better things. A Ramirez fight, hopefully, once all this pandemic's over. It was a shame to see Duke Mika over in America on the undercard of the Charlos fight go out in 3 rounds against Casemiro. It wasn't the Duke Mika that people probably are used to seeing. He didn't really show up, which is a real shame. You know, Duke Mika's come through on Steve's cards over the years. We've seen him at York Hall. The fight with Matty Chandler was superb. It's just a shame he had his world title opportunity and it wasn't the Duke Mika that people are used to seeing. Elsewhere in boxing news, what have we got? The MTK, one of the main events for the Wednesday night show. So Jazza Dickens and Ryan Walsh called off because of COVID-19 tests. So that's a real shame. Real commiserations to those two. But the golden contract goes on with Tyrone McKenna and Ahara Davis in the final of their one. Elsewhere, what's going on? Tony Yoka, big win at the weekend against De Hapas, but De Hapas has seen better days. The Charlo brothers both picking up victories against Rosario and Derevchenko. Other than that, what else we got on? There's not a lot really, is there? The UK boxing scene, it's getting there, it's picking up. Obviously the biggest fight of the year this weekend, Linus Udofia, John Harding Jr. But that's all going to be discussed in Ring Talk. So sit it out, we're going to talk about that. And yeah, boxing is coming back.
Right, so we're here. Me and Steve. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, matey. How are you doing?
I'm all right. You're the other side of some medical procedures, but you're all good?
Yeah, no, done last week, so it's all done now. Feeling good, bit sore, but no, it's all good now. We're just, you get things done, you're better than ever, aren't you? Feel like the bionic man now, ready to go.
Now you can rest up. No stress at the weekend, is there?
Only.
We'll come on to it.
I don't know about that. I think there might be a bit of stress at 7:00 on Sunday night somehow. But yeah,
we'll come on to that. But in the meantime, let's have a look at what's going on at Goodwin Boxing. So we haven't done one of these for quite a while. So there's loads of new signings, but in reality, stuff's kind of on hold a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're signing boxers, but telling them the truth as to what's really going on.
Unlike
some others who are just bullshitting. But we've signed 9 boxers as of now since the lockdown. We had 4 signed just prior to the lockdown, so that's 13 we've got. And we have meetings with another 6 next week and the week after. So we are building up a really good team, but we just think that what we'll do, we'll announce these fighters, and there's some very exciting fighters, champions in the amateur ranks and everything, but we'll announce them as we get closer to the debut dates. Otherwise, it will just get lost. Other news really concerns Dion Juma's challenge for the British cruiserweight title. I've been in conversation with Eddie Hearn over the last week. We originally were in talks to do the Riakporhe Dion fight on the undercard of the White Povetkin 2, but it does look to me as if Riakporhe is going to move on, and probably a good decision for him because he can probably move on to the world level and fight somebody easier than Dion Juma. So I don't think he really wanted it. I don't ever feel that Richard really wanted that fight, but that's fine. Chris Billham-Smith will be the next one in. Obviously, that's going to be the next fight, but obviously the point of it being on the Dillian Whyte undercard would be slightly different now because the way that these pay-per-views work is Dillian Whyte owns the undercard. So it may be that he doesn't want the Dion Billham-Smith fight on that show. So it may be that we'll go for one of the other shows, the Joshua undercard or one of the others for this fight. But the way that I think we're fairly confident that it will be on one of the Matchroom shows before the end of the year, providing we get the right amount of money.
So is Billham-Smith a Matchroom fighter? I'm never quite sure.
I think Eddie does a lot of fight-by-fight deals, doesn't he? Because in reality, he doesn't. He'll do 3 fight deals with some fighters, but generally, I mean, I know Derek Chisora was always on a 1 fight-by-fight deal because at the end of the day, if you're happy with what Matchroom are doing, why are you going to leave? Because you've only got one other alternative. So I think sometimes a fight-by-fight works for all. I would imagine Bilham Smith's probably on a fight-by-fight deal. But after Dion wins, then it'll be Dion that might be on the fight-by-fight deal. So, I think that's pretty much where it's at. I think Dion has been avoided. He can't be avoided anymore. So we're looking forward now to getting him his big opportunity.
Does Dion have a preference over Reactpour or Bilham Smith?
He doesn't care. He just wants to fight whoever's going to give him the opportunity to win the British title. He doesn't care. He's not the one been running from people for the last year and a bit. He'll fight anybody. It's everybody that's been running.
I figured that might be the case.
Yeah, everybody's been running from him, but they can't all avoid him if they want to fight for the British title, because that's what, without the management that we've done, which has got him in a position where he's become mandatory, he would have been left in the corner for pretty much forever. So you have to sometimes force your way in, and that's what we've had to do with Dion.
Is he good to go? Is he fit and ready?
Well, we were offered the Bilham Smith fight. He was really aiming for the middle of October, 21st of November, and we were also preparing a bid ourselves for the first week of December. And he did offer us the Bilham Smith fight for the end of October, but obviously that wasn't in Dion's interest. And no, we said we want the fight, but we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it at the end of October because he wouldn't be totally ready. So we'll just have to see. But that's all the news for now anyway on that. So
without giving too much away. Without giving too much away in terms of negotiations and things, does it make it harder when you're in a position that small hall boxing can't really go ahead? Because I know you like an audacious bid when it comes to, like, you could get Reactpour versus Juma on one of your shows, but when there's a lack of the shows going on. Yeah,
we have got an opportunity. We have got somebody prepared to back that fight. So we are prepared to make a bid. So I have said to Eddie, if he doesn't make an offer that's fair, we will bid for it. And if he doesn't bid for it, we will do it. But we have got, unfortunately, in the financial world, in my financial business, I deal with a lot of very, very big companies, and we do a lot of big work for them. So if there is a big fight, they will come in and sponsor a big card. They're not going to be interested in doing little ones, but something like this, there's the financial backing to stage it. But as I said to Eddie, whether we got the financial backing to stage it or not, it is far better for Dion to have the Sky Sports exposure. So we would rather do it on Sky, but the money has to be relatively fair for what he would get from doing it on one of our shows with the sponsors.
And presumably it comes down to a balancing act at that point of if there's an incentive for Dion to win, whereby Matchroom might take him on, then do you take slightly less money with a future upside to it? And
yeah, I mean,
there's considerations around that.
It's a platform for him because Eddie Hearn has done everything hell and high water not to have Dion Juma on a Matchroom show. He's done everything.
Not to acknowledge him.
Not to acknowledge him, not to have him on. He has not wanted to sign him. He has done everything he can. And I believe that he's done that because he knows what a threat he poses to the other lads. So, but he can't do that anymore. So if Dion wins, Eddie obviously has a choice. He can come and make us an offer, or he can let us go into the wide world and sign with somebody else. It's entirely up. It'll be entirely up to him. But a lot of that will depend on how Dion wins, how exciting the fight is, the profile that he builds, and that will be down to him. So hopefully he will build a profile where there'll be a few people wanting to sign him, and we'll have options available. But I'm confident Dion wins the fight, whoever he fights. And it's just really about tying the loose ends in, but he won't be boxing before the 21st of November.
All right. Going back to the new signing element, have you had any objection? And I'm conscious here that I don't want to run over too much stuff that you went over with Steve Lillis and Carl Greaves.
Steve Wood.
Not Carl Greaves, sorry, Steve Wood. that was brilliant. If anyone's not watched that, go and watch it. It's a great insight. I think because Steve does such a good job up north, doesn't he? And Steve Lillis is a far more professional, consummate individual than I am. So I'm not going to try and replicate that. But when it comes to talking about new signings, have you had any objections from people kind of on the premise that there aren't the shows available at present? Or has everybody just been accepting of it?
Well, what I've said to them, I'm being honest with you, do you want the best manager out there in the south, in who I believe by a country mile in the south of England? Or do you want a quick fix with somebody who's going to promise you something, not deliver it? Or do you want to just get on something that's available without any real planning? But if you value a career and you want the best manager, you can come to us, but you'll have to wait because this is the reality of the situation. I think most people are appreciative that I don't feed them bullshit. I'm not going to tell them what they want to hear and tell them I'm getting them out in October, November and December. Because of, we've been totally real about the situation and where we sit in with small hall boxing. So I think we haven't had an objection because I think people accept that we're telling them the truth. And if they want to sign with a bullshitter, there's a few of them around that they can do, but that's not what
there's
we
plenty.
do.
I can give out numbers.
Yeah, me too. But we'll leave it there.
So the full card for Sunday. Sky Sports, 7 o'clock. I'd like to say headlined with Linus Udofia versus John Harding Jr., but for whatever reason, they've left it for Boatsi to headline it. So let's have a look through the card as it is. And we'll start off with your man Linus in what on paper is the closest fight of the night, I guess.
Yeah, no, if we look at the odds of the whole card now, I think we're going to see a graphic very much coming up now. And I think if we go down the card in order of the odds, I think people will be able to see the card now and probably listen to us in the background. It's the only one where the fighter is less than 1 to 4 on the odds. Everything else is, forget the John Hedges fight, it was 100 on. We're talking about 20s on, 5 on, 9 on, 4 on. And Linus is the only fight that is where you could, I know you can spin a fight, it's 50-50, but it's the only one on, I don't actually believe it's anywhere near 50-50, which we'll come on to in a minute. But for me, it's the only fight on paper that looks 50-50. And I think Eddie's made a really good move to start with it because, it will give people to tune in initially to get what is going to be a very competitive fight on paper. And you've got 2 people that are going to be giving it their all. As far as
it'll be a good fight. It'll be a good fight.
I mean, John Harding will not come to lay down, and he has. No, he has improved massively. I saw him fight Gabor Balog on one of my journeymen. Now he won that 39-38, but he lost that fight. No doubt he lost that fight. He was put down by Gabor Balog, who never won a fight, and Gabor won that fight. It was one of those where the hometown ref gave it to him, but he never won that fight. And my God, the improvement since that fight has been immense.
So I was at his last fight in Dunstable. And he was so much more aggressive than I've ever seen him, John. And he got the stoppage, I think it was maybe 3rd round.
2nd round it was.
Stoppage. Second, yeah. And it was the best I've ever seen him look by a long way.
He has improved by a long, long way. But my God, he needs to have improved by a long way. If he was the same fighter that was there before, Linus would stop him in 3 rounds, 2-3 rounds. And I don't expect, I'd expect it to be closer than it would have been maybe 18 months, 2 years ago. Firstly, Leon McKenzie improved him, then Mark Tibbs improved him, and now he's got a new trainer again in Xavier Miller. And he has been training over in Portugal. So I've no doubt he's going to come in fantastic shape. He's going to come in there aggressive. He's going to look to put pressure on Linus. But unless he stops Linus or hits him with a punch or something like that happens, he's up against a far, far superior boxer, a more skillful boxer, an accomplished amateur who took Jordan Reynolds very, very close on several occasions in the amateurs where, Linus won one of them. I don't think he got the decision, but They were very, very close split decision fights. We're talking about a fighter here that was on the verge of the GB squad, that was an England-style amateur that won, I think, 39 of 42 amateurs, that has come into the professional game, won all 15, stopped 7 of them. He's got everything, Linus, everything. And I think John Harding Jr. is a very good fighter, and he would definitely win an area title, but I would be astonished if he's good enough to beat Linus. 8-13 Linus Udofia is outstanding value. This should be 1-2, 1-3, in my opinion, or shorter. In terms of the fights at the weekend, for those people like having a bet, 8-13 is great value. It should be shorter. It doesn't guarantee you a win, but it should be a lot more shorter than 8-13. So but to me, that's the
presumably. As his manager, you're not allowed to bet on that, are you?
I think you can bet on him. You can't bet against him.
Oh, okay.
I'd imagine you're allowed to back your fighter, but you couldn't back your fighter to lose, because otherwise you could be accused of fighting to lose on purpose. But no,
lays down in one round.
I will be backing Linus at anywhere around those odds, 4-6, 8-13, because I think it's the only fight on the night that represents outstanding value. I will run through the other fights in a minute where I think the odds may be slightly wrong, but for me, that somebody's got that totally wrong. It must be based on the Dylan White factor. But John Harding is improved, and I'm told in Portugal they think he's better than ever. But he's 36 years old. He fades after, no matter how fit he is, he will fade after getting peppered if Linus. I expect him to come out throwing bombs. I expect him to try and catch Linus cold and early, and providing Linus weathers the early onslaught, I expect Linus just to pick him apart with a late stoppage or a clear points victory. But that's the bet. That's the first bet. So, what's your view on that fight?
I think Linus wins. I think probably points. I think more than likely points, but I think it'll be quite a convincing win. Anyone that's ever seen Linus fight, don't be surprised if he loses the first round. Don't lose your mind if he loses the first round. He always loses the first round. It always drives me mad watching it. He just uses that as an opportunity to learn, start computing what happens, the timing, the positions of the opponent, and then he uses that information further down the stretch. So expect him to lose that first round every single time. As long as he doesn't do anything stupid, doesn't get caught with anything, then I don't see... Personally, look, as I say, John Harding was the best I've seen him in that last fight out in Dunstable. But, having followed both of their careers, Linus is closer than John's. 8-13 seems far too narrow for me. I think Linus should beat him fairly convincingly.
Okay, let's move on then to Akib Fiaz, Kane Baker. Fiaz 1-9, Baker 5-1. So what do you know about these? I mean, I've watched them both.
Was Kane Baker the geezer that got beaten by Conor Benn?
Early on in his career, he was knocked out by Conor Benn, wasn't he? But since
wasn't he like... They made a big deal out of him coming off working at the fish factory or something the night before.
I'll tell you what, he's another one that's improved since then. He pushed Myron Mills, that's Clifton Mitchell's boy, really close in a big fight. And although he's got losses on his record, he has taken rounds and forced and actually given people very tough fights. Now, Fiaz is 5-0. But he only beat Ben Fields 39-38, although Ben Fields is area level. But he only won by 39-38, which means as a home fight, he probably got beat. And when he fought a kid of Joe Elfid's called Daniel Alder, he was put down in the first round. So,
right.
So 1-9, Akib Fiaz seems very short considering he's got vulnerabilities. So I don't think Baker at 5-1 is a bet, but I wouldn't be in accumulators be banking on Akib Fiaz at 1-9. I'd rather back Linus Udofia 8-13. But I think that's not a bad fight. It's a better fight than the odds suggest. I mean, Kane Baker he's an area level fighter. I think Fiaz is a worthy favourite, but 1-9, 5-1 is probably a little bit wider than it should be.
All right, what about Alan Babbage, Niall Kent? This Alan Babbage, I don't get it. Like, Hearn seems to be trying to make something of Alan Babbage based on this alter ego of the Savage. I don't get it. He doesn't look very good.
Look at his amateur record. It's not very, his amateur record is very, very average. Very average.
Yeah, I've not seen it, but that doesn't surprise me because he's going to get found out as soon as he fights someone. I'm not going to say with a pulse, with a heartbeat. That's a bit harsh, but as soon as he steps up in levels, he's going to get beaten. I'm convinced of it. I don't think it happens Sunday night.
No, the kid that's fighting Boazzi beating 2-1 in the amateurs. He's got a very average amateur record, and I totally agree. Listen, Eddie's great at building fighters up. He's Dylan White's sparring partner. Whilst you're featuring, what people don't realise is if you've got Dylan White is a necessity for Sky's box office situation, right? Because he's classed as a pay-per-view fighter. Whilst Eddie Hearn has these fighters, he will sign their fighters. For example, the new girl that Anthony Joshua's got, Ramza Ali.
Yeah.
She's an Anthony-Joshua protege. So he's going to sign them because whilst he has to work with these fighters. So Dylan's obviously got his sparring partner, has said he'll get a deal with her. And he's excited to watch Alan Babbage. I actually enjoy watching him. But he is what he is. He is somebody that... Raw. He's going to fight this. He's going to beat Noel Kennedy, I think. Then he's going to fight Tom Little. I think he'll probably beat Tom Little as well. And then...
then Dave Allen, the standard matchroom route, is it?
Yeah, it'll be the route through, and then he'll get a big fight, and it'll probably go. But that is, to me, where we sit with Alan Babbage.
All right.
Noel Kennedy was knocked out in his last fight in America. He's 36 years of age. His record has been built in the US, and you know how easy it is to build a record in the US. So, no, I expect Noel Babbage to probably stop Kennedy, but I think it'll be a little bit of a slugfest while it happens.
Then we've got Chantel Cameron, who's one of my favourites, Northampton-based. She's done the small hall side of it, and she was with Cyclone, of course. So she's gone under the radar. She is a brilliant, like one of the more exciting female fighters for me. But I feel like this is a bit of a no-win situation for her, really. She's fighting Adriana Araujo. She's a 1-5 favourite. I had this conversation the other day saying that I don't understand why for female boxers right now, these foreign, I don't even know where Adriana Araujo is from, presumably Mexico or something like that. Why are they being brought over for these world title fights? I can't believe Hearn doesn't have the influence to say, scrap that, make it against someone British. My knowledge of female boxing is woefully poor, and that's my...
The thing is, who do they match it with? You've got Jonas, you've got Terry Harper, you've got Katie Taylor running around those weight categories. There isn't really anybody left for her to go with other than a foreign import. I mean, they'll make her out. She's 38 years of age, she's 6-0. She beat Natasha Jonas in the amateurs. I'm sure we'll hear that loads of times on Sunday night. They'll make a big thing about that, which doesn't really count. She got beat by Katie Taylor in the amateurs. But she's 38. She's at the end of her career now. She's just been brought in as cannon fodder with a record for Chantel to win. Chantel Cameron wins this. I think, if you had, like, for example, we were having a bet and it was Chantel at 1-5, Fiaz at 1-9. Chantel is a better bet than Fiaz is because she hasn't got the vulnerabilities that Fiaz has.
No.
So I expect Chantel to win. But again, as a fight where you're not sure who's going to win, it's not one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I say it just feels like it's a no-win situation for Chantel, really. If she batters this girl, then she's expected to batter this girl. If she happened to lose, then that sets her back miles because she gets beaten by someone we've never heard of and probably never will hear of again unless there's a rematch down the line somewhere. But
she doesn't lose, though.
No.
She doesn't lose.
And we'll move on to the main event, Joshua Boazzi against Marko Kalic. So the guy that beat...
I think what Eddie's talking about here is the big thing about Kalic is he beat Babbage 2-1 in the amateurs. And the only other thing I
Yeah.
find about him really is he beat Cody Davis in the amateurs. But that realistically, he's brought over. He's going to come and have a go, but be outclassed. I love Boatsy. I think he's supremely talented. I just think he hasn't had a defining fight yet, and I think he needs to have a fight that matters. And I'm not saying this guy's just brought over. We need 20-1 on. I think it's time we saw Joshua Boatsy in a proper fight now.
I agree. And it's the same, we fired the criticism at Yard, a couple of years back, that he wasn't fighting anyone that put a mark in the sand as to where he was in his career. And for me, beating Liam Conroy doesn't do that for Boatsy. That's probably the best win on his record. You've got Hosea Burton. I know Hosea Burton lost last week out in Latvia. You've got Hosea Burton, you've got Callum Johnson, you've got Anthony Yard. You've got all these names knocking about at domestic level. The Yard fight, okay, that's not going to get made realistically anytime soon, but there's no reason for the other ones not to be made. And this fight, there's massive question marks over Boatsy. I'm not sold. I think he's brilliant. No. I think he's brilliant, but why do they keep dragging up super middleweights?
I mean, the question is, he's not being matched as if he's the real... See, I like Boatsy. I think he's really talented, really skillful. But he's not being matched as if he's the real deal, is he? That's the question. And why? No. Why is that the case? Why? Why?
Yeah, and you maybe give him a pass on this one because the same as everyone, but that doesn't excuse the matchmaking pre all this COVID stuff. There's little alarm bells there for me, little red flags that say they maybe know stuff that we don't about some of his vulnerabilities, maybe. And that's why they put the brakes on him an awful lot.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But again, next year I think we will have to see. He'll have to fight somebody, but he's been probably overly carefully matched. And again, if you do what you do with Yard, you can't go from the sublime to the ridiculous and take him from one level and chuck him in the problem because he'll get found out. You need the gradual build up, and he's not getting a gradual build up. That would be my only thing. But I do like him as a boxer. I like him as a human being, and obviously I wish him all the best. But I think it's a real formality on Sunday night. So when we look at the card, will I be watching it? Yes, I will. Are there interests in the fight? There's interest in them, but in competitiveness, I don't think. I mean, the only one you can argue is competitive is Linus Harding. So it's not the greatest card, no matter if it's not the greatest card of 50-50s, to say the least.
What do you make of it being on a Sunday? I quite like it, especially at the moment where there's no other traffic around for taking your attention away.
I love what Eddie does. Try and think outside the box, and I love that. I love the idea that he thinks of something new. I'm looking forward to see what he does with the arena at Milton Keynes as well, because he'll try to do something special. And I like the idea it's Sunday. I think it's brilliant. It's a Sunday because we'll sit there on a Sunday now, watch a bit of football, and then think, now what do we do? Well, now we've got boxing to watch. I think it's a really good idea. Hope it takes off, and I hope there's more of it. When we get back to crowds, then yes, I think Saturday's better, but I really like the idea of it being on a Sunday.
Yeah, I do admire his thinking sometimes.
Not 100%. He's always ahead of the game, and full credit to him for that. Full credit to him.
Right, so now we're going to cut to a video of an interview that we've done with Linus ahead of his fight on Sunday on Sky Sports, 7 o'clock. So let's hear from Linus himself now. Right, we're here with English middleweight champion, currently not on camera. Promise you he's there. Linus Udofia. How you doing, Linus?
I'm well. I'm really good. I'm just getting.
Are you putting clothes on? It was starting to look like an OnlyFans account then.
Mate, I'm charging more than $9.99. I'll tell you that.
How you doing, dude?
Very well, man. I can't complain. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Were you at home still?
Yeah, I'm just chilling.
I thought you'd be in the Matchroom bubble.
Nah, not yet. We're going in tomorrow morning. I got your text earlier, but I decided to go to sleep.
Yeah, but you fucked me off instead. Right. So you go in there Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday morning.
And you're at the Doubletree Hotel, I'm guessing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice there. It's nice.
Yeah, no, I've been there before. I stayed there before. It's quite nice, yeah.
Awesome. Right, how you feeling? Let's get on with business. How you feeling? I know you're
I
about
feel
business
good.
this week.
Yeah, just business. Yeah, I feel good, man. I feel really good. I feel really, really good, to be fair. Just kind of, it's getting to the point where I kind of just like, okay, it's fight week again. It's my 17th or 16th fight week now. And it's like, okay, same thing again. Just obviously a little bit different circumstances, but nothing that we've never done before. So kind of just want to get it done now, really.
Yeah. What are you taking with you to make life easier in a hotel room for, 4 or 5 days?
PlayStation. It's the first thing, and everything else is, like my iPad, my sound systems, and things like that. My PlayStation is paramount now because I'm just going to be online with all my friends for the next few days. So
Have you got
nothing new.
access to a gym when you get there?
Yeah, we got a gym, an area for pads, and loads of things like that. I think the only thing we haven't got is a pool.
No, there isn't one there, don't think.
No, I should probably take the swimming shorts out of my bag then.
Yeah, I don't think there is. Is Terry Stewart going up there with you? Like for
It'll be
the whole duration?
Yeah. We both come in tomorrow. We'll both have to be there tomorrow, get tested, and then we have to quarantine in different rooms. And then after that, we're allowed to.
Once you're going to be all clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be the longest you spent with him, presumably, wouldn't it? Like, just you and him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to be fair, yeah.
He's going to look after you like a
consecutively.
dad. He's going to be
No way. He is. I look at him like a dad anyway, so I can't really wait to, man. I enjoy spending time with him.
I bet he's shit at PlayStation, though, isn't he? I bet you beat him in that.
No, he won't want to do any of that. I'll tell you what he wants to do. I'll tell you what he'll want to do. He'll want to just nap, talk about stuff he's done, and
make you train.
Nap again, and make me train.
How does it work? How do you get all your food sorted for the days that you're there?
So what I've done is I got ready all of my stuff that I needed. Like, obviously I've cooked a ton of meat, a ton of rice, ton of carby stuff like potatoes, rice. I've got all my veg, and it's all just packed up ready. There's a mini fridge there, so I'm going to put all of it in there, and every day I'm just going to get it out, weigh it day by day, and do it like that. Because I don't really want to go into the whole, like, I don't really want to put rogue food in my body now at this stage anyway.
Yeah. So you've been quite reserved in the build up to this. John Harding Jr. has been more vocal out of the two of you. At what point do you switch from being nice, friendly, laid back Linus into you might bite back?
As soon as I hear round one, ding.
So you're keeping it chilled until then?
Yeah, like I know the whole media thing's coming. I know the whole head-to-heads and the press conferences and all, and we're gonna bump into each other probably. But all that is just that's all cheap to me. It's all like, it's all good. It's easy to say something when we're not, we don't have to do anything yet. But it's when we're stood there face to face about to punch the lights out of each other is when. That's where I want to see, where your balls are. So I don't really care about what you say to me outside. It's when we're in there now.
And let's face it, no one's getting paid to fight in the hotel, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like I really don't care about any of it. So, like, even if, like, what I mean, obviously I like to say this now, but it might be different when it happens. But let's say we did a head-to-head and he like shoved me across the room. I don't know. I like to think I just kind of laugh it off and just wait until we get to actually legally get to hit each other. But it's I don't know. It's what he does. It's his tactic, and mine's a bit different. So
he's not allowed within a metre of you anyway, is he?
2 meters.
So I've got a few questions for you that people have sent in over the last week or so.
I got one for you actually. Before we carry on, what's your secret? Because I know you play a little bit of football, but that's not the reason you're looking like a boy band here. Like, you're looking good. You're looking really good. You're looking good. Like, I don't. What are you doing? Whatever.
My
Whatever
hairline
plan you're on,
disagrees.
I want some.
My hairline disagrees. It's going back like Steve's. I've noticed it.
Oh,
Jesus, you're
wow.
a long way
Well,
off that line. A long way off that.
Nah, what? I've over about the last year and a half, I've gone from about 106 kilos to 83.
Yeah, that's good, man. How have you done that? What have you done?
Just healthy eating, exercise. Because I had a knee op a couple of years back, so I've been able to exercise a lot more after that.
Decent.
And just cutting out so much of the garbage, so
Yeah.
much poor food. And yeah, like a mixture of that and the exercise. That's it. But you know, it's gradual, like incremental losses. But yeah, it's back to, you know, the lightest I've been in years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still not on your levels. Don't worry about that.
Well, you act like you are, but well, you act like you are on Twitter anyway.
Launching an OnlyFans.
Yeah, all right, enough of that. Where were we? What are these questions?
Well, we got questions for you. So Ramez Mahmood. So this was one for both of you. Do you think, in a weird way, lockdown may have helped Linus get this opportunity on a big stage? It was inevitable Linus was going to be a TV fighter, though. Looking forward to it.
Do you want me to answer that first?
That's first for me, is it?
For both of you.
I'll deal with the
Let's
first,
deep
then
dive.
Linus can finish. So this fight, irrelevant to what John Harding is talking about, so I don't know who's feeding him the nonsense that he's coming out with. So I'll just say this, because I have respect for all fighters, but we have been chasing this fight for a long time. And when I was in New York watching Richard Comey fighting Teofimo Lopez, I went out for dinner with Mickey Amu and Dylan White's lawyer. And I said to them, we want this fight with Linus to fight Harding. We want the fight. His lawyer rang up Dillian. They come back to the table, said, yeah, we'll have that fight. So I said, right, we want to arrange it. When I get back to the UK, give me a call. We'll get this fight sorted between us. We'll speak to Matchroom, we'll get it on. Nothing. Zip. Nothing. So let's stress this out. We were chasing the fight against them. They have never, the first time they have come to us for this fight is when we were offered it by Eddie. So I think what's happened in lockdown, he's been forced to come to Linus because there were no other options for him, because Eddie's not going to give him an easy fight. And Linus is the champion. He had no choice. He's 36 years of age. So what has happened with lockdown, it's forced him to come to the table. Whereas before, he wasn't coming to the table, even though Linus was champion. We saw it, and I know this is with no disrespect to John Harding, I saw this as the easiest defence for Linus that would give us the best exposure. And that is my honest opinion. As a manager, we thought that. So we've been chasing, we've been hunting him down, and I have all respect for what he's achieved as a fighter and what he's done since coming out of prison. So total respect for him. But in terms of quality, ability, there is only one fighter here that's levels above the other. So it's a fight we were chasing. So has it been easier to make? The answer is categorically yes.
And Linus, do you think it's was it always inevitable you'd end up on a TV platform?
Oh yeah, with Steve doing his job, that was always the goal, and then push on from there. We always had our steps, we always had our plans, and that was one of the plans. He said it to me years ago. The plan is to get you on TV. The plan is to do this. The plan is to do this, and he's always done that. So like you said, I just kind of left the fighting. I did the fighting while he did all the stuff in the back room to be at this moment. So yeah, this is what you're seeing is our plan come into fruition.
Is there a little inkling in the back of your mind that if you go out there Sunday night and you put on an exciting, devastating performance, there's a chance that phone goes on Monday and someone says Matchroom want to sign you, on a more permanent basis? Does that go through your mind at all, or is your mind solely focused upon the fight?
literally right now it's just a fight because, you know, I can't look past, I can't start letting, you know, little golden tickets like that get in the way and start blinding me to actually what's in front of me. So right now, all I can focus on is John and in defending my title.
All right. Well, let me do that for you then. Eddie, I know you're going to watch this at some point. This lad sells tickets. He's exciting. He talks. He's articulate. He's intelligent. Everything about him is made for primetime TV down the line as much as this Sunday. So if you go out there, all you've got to do is go out there and do your job, Linus. And from that, the world's your oyster, man.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Sam Khan on Twitter has asked 2 questions. One, regarding training and preparation for the fight, what have you found the most difficult given the lockdown, i.e. rebuilding stamina or speed, lack of / getting back into a routine, etc.?
That's question 1, yeah?
Yeah.
So off the top of my head, the most difficult, there hasn't really, if anything, it's been trying to train without getting the gym shut down for breaking COVID rules.
Yeah.
That's been the most difficult thing because we've got all the facilities we need. We've got all the strength and conditioning things. We've got a ginormous forest at the back to do all our conditioning. We've got everything we need. Like the athletics track opened about maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago. So we've been doing our conditioning and strength stuff in there. I've got a gym down in Aylesbury that I can do some strength work in there. Brad, Sean and Balraj, they've all been in the gym sparring with me, and I've had external sparring from other people competing. So I haven't physically had any obstacles. You know, if anything, it's been like, I remember when we first got in, the hardest bit was to not post that you were in a gym because you didn't want to get flagged up or your gym closed down because of breaking the rules.
And it's not even necessarily that you were breaking rules, it's that you're scared that somehow you might be breaking rules.
Yeah, but you know, even if you followed every single thing, even though you sanitized, you got tested regularly and things like that, you didn't want to be on anybody's radar like that. So you kind of had to kind of keep yourself, you know, isolated, I guess, because sometimes you get people walking into the gym, you don't know who they are, and you don't want them to be a COVID enforcement officer or whatever. And, you know, I mean, you just don't want to be doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. So that was quite hard. It was quite tense for the first few weeks, but that's the hardest thing physically. Mentally, everything else has been wicked. It's been like just getting back to work. So, yeah, not really a lot, if any, to answer that question. Not a lot. Has been quite difficult.
Coming out of lockdown, when obviously like that, let's call it a 6-week period, 8 weeks, I can't remember what it was, but that period where you couldn't go and see Terry, you couldn't go to the gym, just as everyone couldn't go to work. How much of a dip did like the physical side take during that period? Because I know you were still doing like you did those brilliant videos for people, like the little kind of PT videos and stuff like that, which were appreciated. I did them in this living room here.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But yeah, like how much of a physical dip, what percentage would you have lost of your standard kind of match fitness, if you like fight fitness?
Oh, massive. Like, you know, I played football. Like, I did a lot of fitness stuff, a lot of sprints. I tried to get like explosive. I mean, where I was lacking in, let's say, my timing because I weren't sparring and things like that, I tried to add with power, explosivity, and just like watching a lot of fights, as well as, you know, just kind of every time I went out to, let's say, go for sprints, go for a jog, play some football, do some shadow boxing, do some bits here and there, some explosive bits here and there. So, like, I did take a dip in my timing. I put on a bit of weight, lost a bit of speed, but then worked it all out as I got back in. So, you know, I think I lost my timing and speed, but I worked it all back in now.
Awesome. Right, second question from Sam Khan. What's your proudest moment in the boxing career so far? Was it surviving those rough rounds that we sparred?
No, I think my proudest moment will definitely be winning my first professional title in front of my parents. You know, like, one thing I've always, strived for as a kid was, their acceptance and their pride. Not like I never had it, but to do what I've always wanted to do as a dream, to be living my dream and then to achieve something like that in front of them was just massive. That's where all the tears came from.
Your parents can't go presumably Sunday, can they?
Not that I know of.
No, and I've seen your mum at probably every fight you've been at York Hall, man. That's sad.
I know, it's a bit awful, but they know they've been here before. In the amateurs they could barely get down. When I was flying across the country doing GB stuff, things like that, like they couldn't get down there, and I was always they always supported every way they could. So it's good. It's what I mean. It'll be nice to give them a FaceTime after the fight and be like, "Oh, mum, I'm on the way home. Get the cake out."
Or give her a shout on the Sky interview from ringside.
Yeah. I will. So yeah, they're proud of me, and that's one of my major. That was one of my major goals for them, to get them, to be proud of me. So
yeah, awesome. Right, we'll leave you to it, man. Best of luck on Sunday. I'm sure Steve, and everyone at Goodwin Boxing is proud of you, just as your parents are proud of you. And the fact that you've, I remember your debut. I remember watching you on your debut. And yeah, like the journey that you've come on to be at that point come Sunday is phenomenal. And, I'll leave the last words to Steve on it.
He deserves this opportunity. If any one boxer that we've got deserves to be live on Sky Sports, defending his title, and to be able to showcase his talents to the British public, because it's the only real fight on paper there is on Sunday, it is Linus, and I'm confident he's going to win. I'm confident he'll do himself justice, and he deserves it.
7 o'clock Sunday, Sky Sports. Linus, go out, smash it, defend your English title, and when it all comes back to normality, we can all turn up at your next fight after that.
Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate everything. I really appreciate all of it. You, Steve, and everyone, just for the support from start to finish. So I really look forward to more days after this, more days ahead.
Excellent, man. Take care. All the best Sunday. You'll be in my hometown, but I can't come and see you. I'm gutted. Right, so now we're going to cut to some interviews with people involved in the sport. So top journalist, Steve Lillis, ex-fighter, ex-trainer of John Harding, Leon McKenzie, amongst others. There's Syrett. There's loads of people in there. They're going to give you their views about how this fight on Sunday goes between Linus, Udofia and John Harding. So we're going to cut to them, and they're all going to tell you their predicted outcomes.
It's nice to see Eddie Hearn treat us to a good Sunday night of boxing on Sky this weekend. And one fight that slipped the radar is Linus Udofia's first English middleweight title defence against John Harding Jr., who formerly challenged for this title. For me, a lot of people might know Harding better because of the Dillian White link and an amazing background story he's got. But Linus has made, shall we say, quite progress and slipped up on the inside of the middleweight division. Steve Goodwin's done a fantastic job with him, and I think he's going to take all the beating this weekend. When he won the title, I think it was back in November. It was a close one, but he's an elusive fighter. He can be aggressive when he needs to be. And when John Harding Jr. lost to Jack Cullen in his English title shot, I think he was stopped in at 8 rounds. He was outworked, and his opponent was just too busy for him. I just think everything points to Linus winning this on points after 10 rounds, and I'll be surprised if he's not a long way ahead on the judges' scorecard. And without sounding brutal, if he is going to really trouble the scorers at the top of the domestic middleweight division, it's a fight he really should win.
How you doing? This is Leon McKenzie, former Premiership footballer and also former Championship boxer. Fight week between the champion, Linus Udofia, and my old fighter, John Harding Jr. John Harding Jr. I took down to spar with Linus actually a few years ago. And sparring is I don't watch too much into sparring. Sparring is what it is. But one thing that I always say about sparring, and I've lost many sparrers, not that I put it down to losing or winning, but the person that walks away from the spar having learnt the most from that spar, whether you get the better of that person or if you don't. There's times I've not got the better of my opponent in sparring, but I've walked away having felt I've learnt the most. Now, I'm not telling you who won the spar, but it's not sparring by the end of this week. And now we are in a fight situation. All the bravado stops. All the talk and all the show, trying to sell the fight, and everything stops now. Now you both have to step forward, and who's going to give the best account of themselves. John, in his last title fight, not the last one, which he fought someone to get back into the swing of things, but his title fight that he lost was about time. The timing, it was just a little bit too much for him at that particular time, but he showed great heart and spirit, which I know that he has in him. But at this level, you need a little bit more heart and spirit. You have to have the ability to adapt to your opponent, and you have to win by any way, shape or form. You have to adapt. John throws a lot of single shots, and what I'm interested to see with his growth is if he's capable of putting twos and threes together, bringing that educated pressure to Linus to make Linus uncomfortable consistently. Because if he hasn't got that ability to do that, I feel that Linus is going to be too comfortable with how he fights. So I'm interested to see what John we see. Like I said, he's got heart and spirit, but has he grown since the last title fight? That's what the main factor in this is. Has he grown to be enough at this particular level? Linus is a smooth operator, someone I've rated highly. He's got all the attributes, brilliant angles, puts his shots together well, and doesn't just throw single shots. He has got educated, calculated punching ability to really unsettle opponents. I think John sometimes has the tendency to tire sort of 4 or 5 rounds in, and he is the older man, and I don't care what anyone says, but in boxing, age is a big factor for me. And I really feel that John has to really just tread carefully. Don't sort of go all guns blazing, but at the same time I believe he's got enough about him to be calm and try and pick his shots well, because Linus is not a joke, and a very, very highly skilled fighter. To win the fight, John has to, like I said, put more than single punches together and bring constant pressure but calculated to make Linus uncomfortable. Linus has the attributes to make the fight as comfortable as he wants, but with Linus he has the tendency to also switch off, and sometimes when he switches off, that's when he can get caught. And John is fast enough, although John can throw too fast for his own good, John is fast enough to potentially land and frustrate Linus maybe. But Linus has the attributes to do and show why he is champion, and this is what makes it an interesting fight. I am not going to give you the prediction on who's going to win the fight out of respect, but I've got a feeling who's going to win the fight. I think it will go to points, but there is a possibility that this could be a a stoppage sort of middle late rounds, and I feel whoever brings the best account of them to the best account of themselves on the particular night and leaves all the nerves behind, all the bravado stops, all the talking stops, and walks forward and has the best plan and really believes in what they are going to do. And the main thing is to adapt to what your opponent is about to bring. If you can adapt to what your opponent is about to bring and you have to win the fight however, then that's what you have to do. Linus has got quite a few gears, and I really want to see if John's got those few gears, and that's what makes this fight interesting. So I look forward to watching the fight.
I'm really looking forward to Linus Udofia versus John Harding Jr. at the weekend. Having sparred the pair of them, it's going to be a close fight, but I think Linus is very clever with what he does and he's a very good finisher, but I think he will win on points on Saturday night.
Alright there Steve, I'm going to have to make this short and sweet. Daron Wiseman here from Portsmouth. Sky Sports, 4th of October on the Matchroom show. We've got John Harding Jr. v Linus. I'm going to predict Linus to win this. Why? Why? Because he's a younger fighter, fresh. 15 fights, 7 KOs. He's a good, strong lad. Plus, I've seen him myself live in November at the York Hall when he beat Tyler Danny. And that was a brilliant fight. I rated him then. I thought, what a great, strong kid coming through. So I'm going for him all the way. I don't know too much about John Harding Jr. to be totally honest with you. I've seen him on social media and YouTube. He's the older fighter, 36 years old. So yeah, there's 10 years age gap between them. So I think the younger, fresher fighter is going to push his way through and beat him with a bit of skill and maybe a bit of strength. But yeah, so Linus all the way for me, Steve.
Good evening, chat. Steve Goodwin has asked me to do a prediction on the John Harvey Jr. fight and the Linus fight. Just my prediction. I can see Linus winning on points or maybe a late stoppage. But I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's a 50-50. It's a fight I definitely want to see. And good luck to both fighters. Just my prediction, nothing personal. Good luck to both fighters and have a great fight and enjoy your night. God bless you both.
Hey Steve. Giving you my predictions for the Udofia Harding Jr. fight. It's a very good matchup. I see it as a 50-50. Given the recent bouts, obviously Linus is a champion, I'd have to edge Linus. However, I've been out in the Portugal camp with Harding Jr. and he's training his socks off, looking in phenomenal condition. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an upset either. But given their records and their recent bouts, I'll edge Udofia. However, I wouldn't be surprised with an upset either.
Right, so we're going to go on to the Q&A where people have been storing these up whilst we've been away. So if there are any that are slightly duplicate, which I think there are, I'll make reference to them, but I'll ask the original one that came in. So starting with Yestin, so there's maybe a common theme. When does Steve think it's likely he will have his next show? By which I assume he means, York Hall show or elsewhere.
So if you remember, when we went down in March, I forecast would be a year before we got back. And that was basically based on the fact of when we could possibly get a vaccine, because at that time, I don't know why everybody was talking about shows starting, and they even were last month, without there being some sort of vaccine. You can't do York Hall with social distancing, with COVID testing. It's just not going to happen without TV money. So there's a halfway house, but you do need a vaccine to come out where the older people are able, the ones that are at risk can take it, and the rest of the society will just crack on with it and say, well, look, I'm at as big a risk of dying from something else as I am from this. So they're going to get back to it. It's just the vulnerable that need to really get the vaccines in. So I think that realistically, when the vaccine comes and we know it's going to be implemented, I think then a month after that, perhaps we can, when they relax a bit on COVID testing, we may be able to do some dinner shows or some smaller shows, and we can get up and running quickly with a couple of shows. But you will still need a 3-month lead into a York Hall show, 2 to 3 months. So you're still talking about, even if best case scenario, we get a vaccine rolled out December, January, March is going to be a push. But realistically, March is still the earliest, but it could well be later than that. So I can't answer the question because I don't have a crystal ball to know when the scientists are going to be able to deliver and come to the rescue and deliver a workable vaccine that the vulnerable people can take and feel reassured about going out. So that's what it's dependent on.
Yeah, and when the guidance and information is changing by the week, the hour, it's near impossible to make any of these predictions.
Yeah, and what does annoy me about predictions are the people that were predicting last month they were going to run shows in October at York Hall and places like that, and boxers have been training for it, selling tickets for it. I had a promoter send me a note 3 weeks ago saying, I'm putting a show on in November. Do you want to put any of your fighters on it? And I just wrote back and said, no, what are you doing? Yeah. I mean, it's just nonsense. So these people that are doing this really are just, you could call them too keen, but I'd just call it unrealistic. And you've got to tell boxers have got a mental frailty. And if they're told, oh, I know it's been, you could well fight in October, November, that doesn't help their mental state with people talking such BS as this. So you've got to be real, and boxers have to just accept that it's a break. We don't control when it's going to come back. It's going to control us. And we just got to hope that the scientists deliver a workable scenario. And that is the end line. So I can't give a date. I mean, really, you'd have to speak to Matt Hancock, but he'd probably lie to you anyway. So it's not a lot of use. I don't know anybody that's going to tell us the truth about it. They know, I believe there's a vaccine that's workable. I believe they know what's going on, but they're just not telling us.
Yeah. Did you see Jon Snow going on him?
Yes.
It was brilliant.
Brutal, but it was true. But it was so true, wasn't it?
It was needed. It was needed.
Wasn't it? It was so true.
Yeah, but no, you're right. I mean, there's so much bullshit chatted within the boxing community around what's going to happen and what could happen. It's almost as bad as offering out Brad Pauls and then bottling it for $100,000. Moving on from that. Riku, my friend, lead right on Twitter. Are small hall managers trying to sign fighters at the moment? And are there a lot of poaching attempts going on in the absence of shows? So we covered earlier around your kind of signing of fighters over the lockdown period. So is there a lot of poaching going on?
Yes. There are fighters being promised the world. And yes, we've got fighters, for example, coming to the end of a 3-year contract with us that would normally automatically renew, that have been promised unbelievable nonsense. So they haven't necessarily renewed. It's very unusual. So they'll pay unfortunately, we've had many that have, but the odd one or two. And I've had some of my fighters ringing me up saying, oh, I've been told that is doing a show in October. Could you get me on it? It's just nonsense. So you've had that. So there is poaching going on because they're going out and promising boxers the world and this, that, and the other. And it's the same people that have been doing this for years, going out and promising boxers the world. But it's just become more apparent of who's doing it during lockdown because it's just a very small few that are doing this. But it's the same ones that we suspected were at it before, but I now know who is doing it. Basically, bang to rights who's doing it. So we'll deal with them accordingly when the time is right. But
will you go to the board about it?
No, we just deal with them in a different way. We'll make sure it costs them money.
All right, fair enough. I'm purposely avoiding most of the follow-up questions to these because if you want to know the obvious follow-up questions and answers, go back and watch the show with Steve Lillis and Steve Wood, and there's loads of the kind of obvious follow-up sides to these.
Yeah, it's all there, isn't it?
So I'm not going to go back over that ground because I say it's handled far more competently than I could. Colin Middlemass on Twitter. Has Steve looked at opportunities of fights in mainland Europe or the US for boxers that he manages?
Yes, and we've been offered crap money. Daniel Mendes was offered, for example, to fight a former world title contender, €8,000 for a fight at cruiserweight.
Wow. How many rounds?
10.
And those cruiserweights out in Europe, they're killers, aren't they? You don't want to.
And you know it's a hard fight. Now, that's a fight for me that's £25,000.
Yeah.
Not €8,000. But what they said to me was, if you don't take it, somebody else will. Okay, let somebody else do it. Because what they're doing is the money on offer for these fights is very low in comparison with what the fight's worth. So unless your fighter is desperate, then realistically, it's not a fight you want to do. I mean, you saw Lucas Ballingal went and fought in, was it Russia he went to fight or whatever? Now, Lucas is an supreme talent. He's 23 years of age. I think rate Lucas highly. He's gone over abroad. I know his dad manages him. He's gone over abroad, been basically at everything dropped out, and he lost. He lost. Now he doesn't become marketable for TV companies. You know, I believe, and I'm friends with his dad, I think his dad made a really bad decision to do that, because Lucas would have been a TV fighter if you kept that zero for a little bit longer. Patience. Don't take these silly fights for silly money. You see the cards in Latvia, you get totally mugged off over there, and it's worse than some of the cards. I'd say worse than the cards here. You know, I just don't get it. You're going over for small money to get absolutely, robbed. So, and I'm disappointed. Now, Umar Sadiq wasn't on the scorecards. He got a fair shake on the scorecards. Yep. But these what I consider to be secondary fights, the fights that are not on mainstream TV, you're not getting a good shake in those fights. You're really not.
Yeah, where the evidence.
So they're the fights. Yeah, where our fighters would be involved in. They're going to get robbed. They're going to get beat. And I don't want to sacrifice my young fighters who have got great potential to go and do these fights. And the money's not there. So it's not something I'm actively looking. If an offer comes in that's half serious, we'd look at it seriously. But I haven't seen an offer that's remotely serious coming from Europe.
All right. BoxRec on Twitter. Has there been any talks with a broadcaster for Steve to do shows?
Well, the broadcaster, no, not a mainstream broadcaster. We're working on a project that may or may not come to fruition, and that does involve something like this. But in terms of the main TV companies, they're cutting down. I mean, Channel 4 are in danger of going under, I'm told. BBC, you can see what they're doing to their budgets. They're cutting back. There is no money. So you have to think of unique ways and a unique route, which we're working on, and we will see whether that takes off. But anything is difficult in these particular times when you're looking at backing and setting up something new. But we are looking at something. Hopefully it will come off, and hopefully in time we'll be able to announce that.
Yeah, which, I mean, I know vaguely what that is, and it's, it's a different approach to the same issue. So hopefully something comes of it, and it gives the opportunity to get a number of lads active again.
Exactly, and that will be, if that comes off, that will be quicker. That will be a fast route back once we're allowed some spectators in audiences.
Yeah, John Bailey on Twitter. We'll skip over this a little bit. Apologies, John, but the answer's kind of come up already. Since Steve very early rightly called no fans being at fights until at least late into this year, when does he see fans being back to both main and small hall shows? Do you think main shows will get any dispensation?
Main comes first, definitely. Main will come first before anything else, but it will come main with some form of COVID testing, but for small halls to go, you've got to get rid of the COVID testing as such and all the lockdowns for 3 days before. So yes, main will come first, and then small hall, as in probable dinner shows and stuff like that, comes second, and then third you get the full banger shows that we had. As I said on the other broadcast, when boxing comes back, it will come back bigger and better than ever in small hall. But it's just when.
Yeah, I mean, the big shows, like if you hired out the O2 and you were allowed 6,000 people in, I'm just picking a number out of the air. that's not really cost effective, is it? I mean, I'm guessing the O2 won't be given a reduced rate on their hire.
I'd imagine. I mean, I've had different figures quoted the O2, but it's somewhere between 75 and 150 grand to hire, depending on what you have and how big it is. So you get 6,000 fans in, on average, what, 200 quid? They generate 120 grand, 100 grand before that. Probably covers it covers the cost of the hire of the venue. So probably just about that.
So there might be legs in it.
Might be some legs in it. Again, I think there are legs in doing that. I think, but yeah, I think it's very, very difficult. And we just got to be patient. You've got to sit on your hands and wait. And boxers have to be patient. Brad Paul's lovely guy he's so impatient. He just wants to punch people all the time, right? So I've had to try and tell Brad he's got to be patient. He's had a perfect career built. Patience, 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 patience. Don't take the wrong fight now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one that we'll touch on, but again, I know this is in the interviews with Steve and Steve. Have you seen many boxers walk away yet?
Not yet, but that will come when we go back, when they realise they've got to go back into training seriously. Do they want to? Does their life now say they want to? Has COVID dawned on them that they want to have a family and settle down and get a full-time job? So I think the fallout won't be seen until we go back.
Question from I Was Only There on Twitter. Are you planning to make a fight night outside during next summer if COVID restrictions are still in place?
We were going to do one this summer. It was we was always planning to do it. So relevant to COVID, it's something we want to do. We were searching out venues, and it might have well been involved with Linus Udofia as well. So yes, it is something we're looking at, and we'll look at it for next summer. It's 100% something we're looking at doing.
And there was a question from the same person for Linus, which was about his workout videos during lockdown, but I forgot to ask Linus. So, oops, sorry. My bad. Final one from Sean Earls, top young trainer. Good man, Sean. A lot of time for him. Will you be putting on extra shows next year to try and catch up with the missed shows from this year?
Well, no, because that wouldn't make sense. Because if you put more shows on, boxers have still got the same problems in small halls selling tickets. So if you just say to them, right, instead of fighting 4 times, you're going to fight 8 times, they won't sell the tickets. Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense with ticket deal operations. So the answer to that is no, because boxers will still have the same issues. Really, maximum time to fight is 4 times a year. So we put enough shows on for every fighter to fight 4 or 5 times a year if they can do that. So that will still be the same. So no, the answer to that is no, I'm not going to put on an extra 5 shows. The only time you put on extra shows is if you had extra boxers to put on shows.
Yeah.
And we are putting boxers on at the moment. As you know, we're signing new boxers, and our numbers are still remaining fairly constant with those that have retired or are not going to come back. So we're pretty much expecting to approach the new season with slightly more boxers than we finished with before COVID, but not enough to be significantly having more shows.
Like most people, you come out of lockdown with a few extra.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Sean had asked about any methods that you were thinking about in order to put on shows before things go back to normal, dinner shows, streaming, etc., which again we kind of touched on earlier. So that's all of them. So I think we covered all the questions. So yeah, I think that's it for this week. It's our return. It's our new normal, which is the most tedious saying, I think, coming out of COVID. But
we'll do another one next week to reflect on Linus and look ahead. And by that time, we might have some news on Dion Juma, and we'll be able to do that next week and hopefully get something out next week for everybody.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, I'm not going to because I don't want to tempt fate in any way, but if Linus wins, then what's next? But let's save that for next week. And then we can start, looking at his plans going forward.
I think a lot will depend. If Linus wins a boring points victory, I mean, for example, 100 to 91, but it's boring, then there probably isn't in that scenario. I don't think it will be like that. It's a totally different than he has a brilliant fight with John Harding. John Harding puts it on him. He looks brilliant, stops him in 7 or 8, and it's a massively exciting fight where Sky Sports go, wow, we want him back on next time. That's what it hinges on.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has been on Sky before, hasn't he? He was on the undercard of White Chisora 2 and didn't perform that night, did he? He was.
No, he had an off night, so he had his opportunity to shine, and it was a shame because that night there were 2 undercard fighters on that were basically showcasing to Sky, and that was Linus and Fabio Wardley.
Right.
And unfortunately, for Fabio, he looked brilliant. He got signed. Linus didn't look brilliant, and he didn't get signed. So that was the problem.
Yeah,
so,
and I know there were a lot of it was back-to-back camps, wasn't it, for Linus at that time?
Yeah.
So there were reasons behind it, but that doesn't placate the the TV execs that are looking.
No, so that's what you have to do. You get these chances to shine, and you have to shine. It's down to Linus. We built his career perfectly. He has got every opportunity now to shine. It's all down to him. That's all I can do as a manager. I can't fight for him, but we've created the opportunity. It's now his time to shine and his time to show the world. And I'm hoping and confident that he will do that.
So Sunday night, Sky Sports, 7 o'clock, first fight on the card. Tune in, watch Linus, fingers crossed, do the business, retain his English belt, and then next week we can talk about where he goes next.
Exactly.
Excellent
Thanks
stuff.
everyone. Cheers.
Excellent. All right, lovely. We will catch you next week then.